Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahavashai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Double honors the apostles and elders of Millstone for teaching us the truth. And salutations, the sincere Akim and Akwat that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Akwai. I'm back in here with another quick lesson. And for today's lesson, it's going to be titled The Behavior of Kings, Composure, and Masculinity, right? So, I was going through a couple of the verses in Second Samuel, and I thought it was really, really interesting. Also, I had an experience, on the job, and I thought it was, I had one of my coworkers said to me, you're so, you're very, very composed, right? So I thought it was very, very interesting in the face of essentially being composed in the face of, I don't want to say necessarily a debate, but necessarily of a confrontation of emotions, essentially, right? And that was something I had to deal with in my workplace, right? And that was the word that the coworker kept saying to me. So what I want to do first off, I want to get to the word composure. As a matter of fact, I want to open up with this precept first, because I want to be going into a snippet of the chapter in 2 Samuel in regards to David and one of his like right-hand men named Joab, right? So just bear with me on this. So this is Proverbs. I'm going to start off with Proverbs 25. I'm going to start off verse 1. This is a common precept I bring out because, inquiring the ways of our forefathers, we get to know more of the things, the behaviors, the actions, and even the things that are wicked that they did, right? So we know how to navigate, and the scriptures also talk about knowing this information is good for our learning, right? So this is Proverbs chapter 25. I'll start at verse 1. And it says, there are also Proverbs of Solomon, which the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, copied out. Verse 2. It is the glory of the Most High to conceal a thing, but the honor of kings is to search out a matter, right? So it's the honor of kings. So knowing who we are, we come into this understanding of our forefathers and how they conducted themselves, right? So particularly for this lesson, I want to be focusing on, as always, normally King David and one of his commanders named Joab, right? So let me get the word composure in the etymology, so just bear with me. Okay, composure, it says composition, the act of composing, constructing, arrangement, in a sense of tranquility, calmness, composed state of mind, calm, right? Let's see if there's any more here. Okay, to bring to a composed state, quiet, let's see, tranquil, free from disturbance or agitation, right? So you're very, calm, and you're very sound in the mind, right? There's a scripture in the Apocrypha that talks about better is essentially a man who is poor being sound of constitution, roughly paraphrase, right? Because that's one thing, when we come into this wisdom and knowledge and understanding, it brings a soundness to our mind, right? Rather than the 2/3 of our people, where it talks about the whole head is sick, we're referring to the whole nation. Our nation as a whole, we're sick, and there's no soundness in it. There's no stability. Essentially we're insane, right? But let me not ramble on too much. Let's get to the account real quickly, right? I don't want to make the lesson too long, but as always, Yahweh Ratasa, hopefully this is edifying. Okay, so this is Second Samuel chapter 19, verse. I'm gonna start at verse 1, and the title here, it says Joab reproves David's lament, right? So I want to read it in the NLT, so just bear with me. This is verse 1, and it says, "And it was told Joab, Behold, the king weepeth and mourneth for Absalom." Verse 2, "And the victory that the days was turned into mourning unto all the people, for the people heard that say that day how the king was grieved for his son," right? So just a little bit of context. Absalom essentially tried to usurp the authority of David, and David had put out a decree, telling his men, okay, if you find him, okay, don't try to kill him, essentially, like spare his life, be gentle with him, right? And it didn't go that way, so essentially, Absalom ended up losing his life. I think first off, he had his hair caught in a tree, and he ends up being killed. And right, so this is after all the fact, right? So this is in the previous chapters if you want to check it out. Verse 3, and it reads, "The people gat them by stealeth that day into the city, as people being ashamed steal away when they flee in battle." Verse 4, "But the king covered his face, and the king cried with a loud voice, O my son Absalom, O Absalom, my son, my son." Right? "And Joab came into the house to the king and said," oh, Salakia, I'm actually reading in the KJV. I'll just continue anyways. "Thou hast shamed this day the faces with all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons, and of thy daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubines." So in the NLT it says, "And Joab went to the king's room and said unto him, We saved your life today, and the lives of your sons, and your daughters, and your wives, and your concubines. Yet you act like this, making us feel ashamed of ourselves," right? So David was essentially was feeling emotional. He lost his son, but his son was being a complete degenerate, right? So the people who were around him, like, yo man, David, you're making us feel bad for this, for this victory, right? Because he was the cancer in the place that needed to be put out, right? So Joab essentially had to check him, right? Verse 6, "You seem to love those who hate you and hate those who love you. You have made it clear today that the commanders and your troops mean nothing to you. It seems that if Absalom had lived and all of us had died, you would be pleased. Now go out there and congratulate your troops. For I swear by the Lord Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahweh Shai, that if you don't go out, not a single one of them will remain here tonight. Then you will be worse off than ever before." Right? So David, so essentially, Joab had to, kind of, had to check the king, right? He kind of had to rebuke him essentially, right? Let's get a precept. Let's see. This is Proverbs chapter 9, verse 8, and it reads, "Reprove not a scorner, lest he hate thee. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love thee. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning." Right? So David David was, we're in the flesh, right? So, he was, feeling a certain particular way for, his son. He had a son. He raised him up, and he was just being a whole ass degenerate. To excuse my French, right? The guy was committing adultery and slept with your concubines. Like, that's uncalled for, right? So, but essentially Joab, as one of his commanders, was instructing him, okay, what you need to do is you need to maintain composure, because number one, you're still king, right? So these people are actually looking to you for their guidance and their instruction. You know what I'm saying? So you need to have, kind of like, for example, if you have to equate that to today, when you go when you watch certain news clippings on TV, the presidents or the prime ministers of particular countries, they have to have a certain kind of conduct when they go and they give their speeches, after, whether it's winning an election, or if they're your country is facing some kind of disaster. People are looking to you as that beacon of light, right? And that's kind of like how the people of Israel at the time were looking at David, right? You need to maintain frame, right? And maintaining frame is a very common sentiment that is discussed in the so-called manosphere, right? You have to, especially when they talk about women, a man must maintain frame. This is how I'm piecing this lesson together, right? Because this is a very key component of masculinity, right? Being able to have your emotions in check, right, in certain times, because you can be a leader in a particular setting, and someone is looking to you, whether it's as young as brothers, or even if you're listening to this and you're an elder or an apostle, you always have people who are looking to you as for some kind of guidance, right? So seeing you being composed, is a very, very vital thing to to practice, right? Some of you brothers might have wives and women, right? When your woman's breaking down and she's coming to you, you want to be, in that state of composure, right? You don't want to be, falling all over the place, and you getting all emotional and frantic as well, because that doesn't, she's not going to be turned on by that, right? So, anyways, I don't want to ramble on too much on this, but hopefully this is all piecing together and actually making sense. Okay, this is Proverbs chapter 25, verse 28, and it reads, "He that hath no rule over his own spirit is like a city that is broken down and without walls." Right? And I wanted to bring this out because that is the potential outcome of a man and what he can be like. If he's overly emotional and can't maintain that frame, essentially can't maintain that composure, right? And that's very, very important, especially when you're dealing with people in the world, and especially in times to come too. It's to see the things that we might see in Jacob's trouble. It's very, very important to have that soundness, that stable mind, so we don't get all frantic and get all panicky, like Saul, right? Just to back up that quick point, because that's one of the things that made Saul a terrible king, because he got all panicky and frantic. Let's get, I think it's 1 Samuel, I think it's 28. Okay, 1 Samuel chapter 28, verse 5, quick precept, and it says, "When Saul saw the vast Philistine army, he became frantic with fear and asked the Lord what he should do. But the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua refused to answer him either by dreams or by sacred lots or by prophets, right? So in the KJV it says, and when Saul inquired of the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Shai, the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams nor by the Urim or by the prophets, right? And this is after Samuel's death, right? So you saw Saul's behavior as he, the Lord's spirit was taken from him. He started becoming very carnal. He started breaking the laws. He consulted with spiritual mediums, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get the word frantic really quickly, just for edification. Okay, so it says insane, unexplained variant. It says affected with wild excitement. So somebody who's their emotions are running wild, right? Okay, let's get Jeremiah. Okay, Jeremiah chapter 51 verse 7, and it reads, Babylon hath been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand, and made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. Right? And one of the reasons I wanted to bring out this this precept was because it's a common thing, that before I comment, that wine is referring to a lot of the philosophies that Babylon the Great, which is America, pushes forth. Now, another thing, and like for example, feminism, right? And what feminism actually does, it pushes a lot of our young men, because they perpetuate this feminism nonsense within the post-secondary school education. I went to post-secondary school myself, and this is one of the things they push forth. They don't actually, for example, on a lot of these post-secondary school campuses, they actually show you and actually implement rooms known as like so-called safe spaces, right, where people can vent and talk about their emotions and stuff like that. But what a lot of our people don't actually learn, they don't actually inquire of the forefathers of old, right? So they don't have a good understanding of themselves and how to control their emotions in particular situations. This is why they get all frantic and get all over emotional when they're in a dire situation. For example, with police, when you deal with police, you want to be able to maintain frame, right? You're not in a position of power. You want to keep your emotions in check. You want to be composed, right? These are all masculine traits, right? So this is one of the reasons I wanted to bring out this precept, because what part of those philosophies it actually does, it teaches a lot of you Israelites that are in these schools to be more emotional and be more like a woman, right? It doesn't teach you how to be more like a man and compose yourself, put your emotions aside, right, for the greater good, right? David, he's a king, so imagine the amount of responsibility a king has on his table to actually lead forth a nation, right? So that's a very, very crucial and important skill, for us brothers, right? Even myself as well, right? So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring out this precept, right? Because they socialize a lot of you Israelites to be more like women via these wine philosophies such as feminism, right? So because this is a very over feminized society, right? Esau has it, where the food, there's certain chemicals in the food, the water is it has all these different chemicals that makes that acts as that enhances estrogen. For example, you brothers can look up a chemical called atrazine, where Alex Jones actually, he had come on and people had said he was crazy about this. People had said when he came out and he said they're turning the frogs gay, right? Where does that come from? It comes from a chemical named atrazine. I think it's ATRIZINE, something like that, right? You could type it up and look for that chemical, and it actually made the frogs exhibit more feminine tendencies, right? Right. The male frog wasn't as essentially as attracted to the female frog. It was kind of like the other way. The male frog started having more feminine traits, and that is something that you see today with a lot of young men today, right? So hopefully, how Ratasa, all of this is actually piecing together and making sense, right? So let me just get another, and I'll just close it out because I didn't get a chance to talk about the important role that Joab played and how this also deals with masculinity and masculine traits. So this is Sirach 37. I want to start at verse 11, and it says, "Neither consult with a woman touching her of whom she is jealous, neither with a coward in matters of war, nor a merchant concerning exchange, nor a buyer of selling, nor with an envious man of thankfulness, nor with a merciful man touching kindness, nor with a slothful for any work, nor with a hireling for a year of finishing work, not nor Slakia, with an idle servant of much business. Hearken not unto these in any matter of counsel." So there are certain things you don't want to have particular counsel with, and part of actually being a man exemplifying these godly masculine traits is to, being mindful of the counsel, being mindful of that counsel as well. That is the exchange that you see between David and Joab, right? Because essentially Joab was, he was low-key rebuking David, right? And that is part of masculinity, right? And that is something that is not often seen in this side of the world because this world, especially in the West, has become very overly feminine, right? Verse 12, but be continually with a godly man, whom thou knowest to keep the commandments of the Lord, whose mind is according to thy mind, and will sorrow with thee if thou shalt miscarry. Right. So just having, that good support system. Right. We do have a body. Right. So there's particular brothers you might consult with on particular issues, right? And they will give you the proper counsel on how to actually move forward, right? But anyways, this hopefully this lesson was edifying. I didn't want to make this too long, but there was just a couple things I wanted to cover in regards to this short snippet of the chapter. But hopefully, as always, Yahweh Ratazah, this is edifying, and I just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bashim Yahweh Shai, Bashim Makakadash. Give honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us His truth. Till next time, I say Shalom.